I'm excited to kick off today's event, How to Bring Everything You Are to Work, sponsored by SAP. And we are excited to be joined by three incredible women from SAP for a discussion about how they have found success and purposeful work at SAP. Today, we'll also get the inside scoop on SAP's culture of inclusion and their focus on health and well-being that helps ensure that everyone is bringing their whole selves to work. So Margot, Lisa, Deepthi, thank you so much for joining us today. To kick us off, I'll have you all introduce yourselves. So tell us about what you do at SAP and how you've gotten to where you are. So Margot, go ahead and get us started.
Well, thanks for having us here today. First of all, Val, we appreciate the opportunity to connect with the audience. I am Margot Goodson, and I am Vice President, Head of North America Diversity and Inclusion here at SAP. That means I'm responsible for strategy across US and Canada as it relates to our diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is not just about workforce, but about workplace, about policies and procedures, about our ecosystem. So oftentimes I'll say I'm making D&I or DNA at SAP. It truly needs to be foundational to everything we do. So not just how we source talent, attract, and hire, but how we onboard, engage, retain. What do we do to career develop and advance? And how do we embed that into our ecosystem of suppliers and customers and the touch that we have with technology? So super excited to be here today. And how I landed to this role is that I've been at SAP for 14 years, 5 different positions, 3 different board areas. And my background is actually CPA, Six Sigma Green Belt, turned certified diversity executive. So when we talk about the topic of bringing everything you are and becoming everything you want at SAP, it has certainly proven itself out for me because I was able to evolve my skill set, leverage transferable opportunities and experiences to now have my passion as my profession. Being a Six Sigma Green Belt, having that strategy background, being a people manager previously, being in finance and having the business acumen, and it has certainly proven itself useful in the diversity and inclusion world that we currently exist. So again, happy to be here and certainly has leveraged my network over the years to reach this position. And likewise, Fairy Godboss is a huge network that we hope the professionals interested will leverage to perhaps come to SAP at some point.
Yeah, awesome. Lisa, you want to go next?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Like Margot, we're delighted to be here and share some insights about SAP and our career paths. Currently, I have the privilege of leading the North American Industry Advisory Practice. My team is a team of management consultants with deep domain industry expertise, and we really help our customers solve their business problems with technology. So as you can imagine, with COVID and all the disruption happening, we've been very busy helping our customers do digital transformation. And I've had the privilege of doing that for the past 10 years, working in various degrees within the industry organization. Prior to that, though, I spent my prior 18 years in our direct sales organization as an account executive, as a director, as a VP of sales, and as a national VP. They're really on the front lines, working with customers in all walks of industry, helping them identify and solve business problems with SAP. SAP is an amazing company. I had the good fortune to join us when we first came to the US back in 1995, but I was a teenager back then. So if anybody's doing quick math, don't count. We were about 5,000 employees and today we're over 100,000. So the trajectory and growth of the company has just been amazing. I've had many opportunities, as Margot said, the company's dynamic to continue to grow and explore new opportunities and really bring my full self to SAP, and really excited about where we're going because I think our best is yet to come. So for folks listening and looking for an exciting career in IT, I don't have an IT background. I'm an accountant, very similar to Margot, undergrad, graduate with MBA, and have parlayed my business experience into a very successful career, I'd like to think, in technology. So the door is open, lots of opportunities, and really excited to share some things with you today.
Awesome. Deepthi?
Thank you so much for making me part of this panel discussion. I'm really so happy to be here. I'm Deepthi Talluri. I am working as a Scrum Master in one of the development team, which supports the post-sales team of SAP in the contract renewals for the customers and checking the health of the customer and all those issues. I joined SAP in 2020. I'm pretty fresh, and I'm the youngest among the three women here. Um, so I joined as an intern in SAP in product support team, and later I have applied jobs internally, and I was selected for the development team, which I'm really happy about, and joined the development team, and just getting a different variation of skills and other stuff, in order to build a strong career. um, when I was doing my master's, I always thought of getting into SAP. I was so excited when they offered me an internship, and I'm really looking forward to continue in this company itself, because I'm really impressed with the culture in the company, and yeah, really looking forward, and also double my number of years here.
That's great. No, that sounds like a great start so far to your career there. Now, some of you have touched on this a little bit in your introductions, but I'm curious to find out more from you all. What initially attracted you to a career at SAP? So I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll start with me. And the reason I'll start is I actually was not thinking SAP, but was aware of SAP. And it was one of those things where you have to get to know a little bit more to understand the value. And once I did, what it made me go ahead and make the decision to join them is that I saw it as an opportunity to invent and reinvent yourself as much as you're willing to do. So we have a lot of fellowship opportunities available. And at the time, a lot of international assignments that were available, and we're structured in board areas. And so you have your board areas and your LOB functions. So I saw it as, wow, what a dynamic company that has international leadership, that has exposure for its employees, that has opportunities to grow up, sideways, etc. Right? So you could increase your visibility, increase your skill set. You can get involved. I've always been a believer that you should engage in at least 1 to 2 aspects of the company where you work outside of your core role. And at SAP, I found that with the number of employee network groups that we have and the corporate social responsibility footprint that we have. So when I was looking at it, I saw, hey, I could come in and be a CSR ambassador and help with community service initiatives, or I can join Business Women's Network or the Black Employee Network or the any number of network groups that can help build the culture internally, but also exposure externally. So that's what attracted me to SAP. I saw it as a future forward thinking company that was continuing to evolve. They were acquiring a lot of companies to diversify their products and services, and likewise diversify their employee workforce. And the diversity inclusion wasn't new for us a year or 2 ago. It was prevalent a good 10 years ago. And that was something that was easy for me to see. There was a female CFO in place at the time. And there was a lot of diversity amongst the experiences of the workforce of whom I had met. So coming in and leading a team of about 25, 30 at the time, not a large team in the finance department, it was very exciting for me to have that opportunity. So those are a few things that attracted me to it: the culture, the opportunity, the evolutionary mindset and growth. And to Lisa's point, going from 5,000 to 100,000, I think we were maybe around 30 or 40 or so, a lot more for along in 2007 when I came here, but certainly not where we are now.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of growth. Deepthi, you mentioned that the culture had impressed you as well during your internship. Tell me a little bit more about what was so impressive.
So I'm a person with vision impairment, and when I joined SAP, I was not expecting that my manager would come to me and talk about what kind of software aids I would require, and all, like, having those pre-discussions. I thought I should initiate that discussion from my side, and then ask my manager to get the aids installed on my computer. When I on my first day, I still remember my manager was talking about, those software aids which he has Googled by himself and suggesting me which could go well for me, and I was really impressed with that. And even going forward, the team was really helpful. They tried to accommodate me with as much as possible. They understood which areas would be difficult for me to work on, and they extended their help in those areas, and tried to put me in the areas which I'm strong in and which I'm comfortable doing. That's why I did not, during my internship, when I really thought I should continue working at SAP, and really did not think about applying any other companies outside. So I started applying for jobs internally.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear that your manager supported you that way, as someone who, is differently abled as well. To have a manager that takes that initiative to help you, I'm sure meant a lot. So now we've talked about how SAP encourages its employees to bring everything they are and become everything they want. And Margot, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but explain what that means to you.
So what that means to me is true authenticity and who and what I am and what I bring as a skill set. And that there aren't any limits with respect to opportunities that are available to leverage your skills and abilities. It's just access and partnerships. I tell people your network is your net worth. How you work that internally really makes a difference. It lets me know that I can be the wife, mother, and professional uninhibited. It lets me know that on Wednesday evening, when I say I need to log off for church and team ministry, that's not a problem for my workplace. I can fully bring all of who I am to this workplace. When I'm planning team building activities internally, I'm leveraging my external event planning mindset as well. So it lets me know that without a doubt, in order to achieve my goals and objectives here at SAP, I can freely integrate all that is about my life and not have to inhibit that in order to thrive. And I've seen how SAP has supported even entrepreneurs, not just our entrepreneur division at sap.io, but entrepreneurs with competitions and 1 billion lives and things that lets us know that, hey, you can have your own business that is, doing something else, and the company will even support that. If anyone watched our video on our SAP page, it speaks to that a little bit. And so just knowing that we are free to be our own selves. Last year, we had a Free to Be Me at SAP campaign where we asked people to share all that was representative of them, not just their physical demographics, but are they caregivers? What about their alma maters? What special skills and abilities do they have that we might not know about? What organizations do they belong to? And we invited them to share their talent in a Pass the Mic session and also upload their favorite music to our SAP playlist. It was part of an entire campaign. To me, that leads in a way that other companies I haven't seen do in the past where I've worked. And when you are in your workforce to be that authentic, then we don't have to worry about hiding other things, and we can focus more on getting the job done. So what it means to me is freedom to express yourself and to do your job professionally, bring your best selves, and achieve the goals that you set forth individually, as well as collectively that SAP has for our outcomes.
That's great. Lisa, how has SAP supported you in bringing your whole self to work?
I think to echo on what Margot said is, I think SAP really values individualism and people being authentic. It's been proven that companies that embrace diversity and value individuality have a higher performance of their performance, their goals, their agility, because they have multiple inputs. You think about yourself, if everybody sitting on your leadership team has the same view and there's no incremental individual thoughts, you're missing tremendous opportunities for agility and growth. When you look at the diversity in our customer bases, we need to really be empathetic about other situations and make sure that we have those different voices being represented. So when I look at SAP and how we've really embraced this, it's really quite clever, because it allows us to not only meet the corporate objectives, by open-minded and have a diverse perspective outside of what we might think are the norms, so that we're not missing opportunities, and so we're leveraging the strength of our employees. So when you attract and attain talent and you allow them to be their individual self, and you allow them to bring their different point of view, the collective combination of that is always stronger than having, kind of a dictatorship from the top down. I know on my own leadership teams, I always look for diversity and people that have a different voice than I have. If everybody has the same voice that I am leading with, then I'm missing tremendous opportunities. And so it's a welcome challenge. And I think it really talks to the vibrancy of SAP and our ability to grow and be up and, on all the, what I would say, top business issues that we're seeing in today's market.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Deepthi, I know you've talked a little bit about how your manager has supported you. Are there any other ways in which SAP has been able to help you bring your whole self to work that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, so it's not only accommodating people who are differently abled in the work, but also there are so many employee network groups inside SAP where we can interact with similar conditions or the similar people who have similar problems, and then and get something good out of it. I'm myself part of, I'm myself leading a EMG called as SAP Vision. So where it supports people with vision impairment who are at work, and also some family members who have visually impaired in their family, just to give some guidance and then try to resolve if they have any questions or problems in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Awesome. What advice do you have for women who feel uncomfortable being themselves in their work environment, or that might struggle finding work that aligns with their values? I'll have Lisa answer this one first.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a kind of a layered question. I think you have to first ask yourself, why are you uncomfortable? So if you're new in a position and you're not as experienced and you're uncomfortable, that's quite okay, right? You're not expected to know everything on the first day. And there's certainly a path to ensure that you're going to mature in that role. But if you're uncomfortable because of the work condition, or if you're uncomfortable because of something that's been presented, I think you have to be honest with yourself and have the opportunity to share your point of view and express yourself. I think SAP, allows for that. Our leadership culture here is very open and inclusive. I think we allow for people to share things. And, for me, this is where the empathy and being a purpose-driven company really comes into play. So, first is identifying what is it that's making you uncomfortable, and then two, addressing the issue where it's at. And so you should never feel compromised, right? If they're not aligned with something, if you have a personal objection or belief that's, going to conflict with your personal position on something, we have open forums to have conversations about that. And if people are very empathetic and understand that, and that can range from a wide variety of different topics. But I think having a culture where people identify differences, where there's empathy towards our employees, where we have an inclusive culture, it allows us to eliminate those situations. And so I go back to identify what is it making you uncomfortable, and let's remedy that. And chances are we have those programs in place to address that. But for me personally, I have never really been in that situation where I didn't feel comfortable about sharing a conversation or opening up a topic, or even talking to a colleague about how I might approach something differently. And we've always been able to come to resolution. So I think that speaks volumes about SAP and our culture.
And if I would add there, I would say that at SAP, our leadership principles, one of them is tell it like it is. And it's embracing differences, it's making it happen together, it's building bridges, not silos. So we have a number of principles that we subscribe to daily. And when I say leadership, I just don't mean people managers. I mean, each and every one of us are leaders in our own right of what we do within the space of SAP. So as we function that way, we encourage the process. We encourage it publicly to be able to speak amongst your team, yet we also have confidential ways of disclosing data and information and scenarios if you're not comfortable going directly to your manager. We have an ombudsman in Germany. We have employee relations teams members throughout the United States. But if I were to really give advice one-on-one or one-to-many of women, finding your voice, being brave and bold, speaking up professionally and authentically is a learned skill. And to continue to practice it and hone it will enable you to get better at it and more comfortable and confident in it. We all, as professionals, have the right to be curious, cognizant, culturally intelligent, collaborative, right? Yet there is benefit, as this quote goes, with getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and it's growth. And so as we all lean into those uncomfortable conversations, whether they're around compensation, whether they're around race and ethnicity, gender, identity, sexual orientation, behaviors of your leadership team, et cetera, we all have the right fundamentally as part of the workforce to have a forum with which to raise it. So I encourage individuals to know that as long as it's done professionally and it has facts and data to substantiate it, to know that comfort will come with practice of executing in those steps. And at SAP, we do have an environment that encourages that.
Great. And that's a good segue into my next question. I was curious if any of you have ever wanted to speak up about an issue at work, but were afraid to, or even wanted to share something about yourself, but might have been worried what others might have thought, or if they would have judged you, or how did you personally find the courage to speak up and ask for help and take that risk? And let's see, we'll have Deepthi. How about you answer that one for us?
So I would mostly think, since I'm working here and I have to put my 100% for whatever I'm getting back from the company. So if I don't speak up right now, then it would surely affect my work at some point of time, which would finally, people might lose trust in me and confidence as well. So thinking of the consequences which I might face in the future, that kinds of pushes me to speak out what my problems are, so that I could expect some help back.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you.
I think Margot mentioned the network earlier on, and I think it's really important when you establish yourself, you have coaches, you have your mentors, but then you have your network, that one or two people that you feel comfortable that you can go to and say, hey, I need some advice, or I'm thinking about this, or I'm feeling a certain way. What would you do? What advice do you have for me? And that culture exists here at SAP, whether it's formal or informal. But it's also something that you need to own, right? As you develop yourself professionally, as you establish your network within the organization, seeking out who are those one or two people that are your trusted advisors that they're going to have your back and you're going to have their back, so that you can have those conversations freely without prejudice or consequence. No one should ever feel that if they ask a question that they're going to be perceived as weak or not being cooperative or less than. You should always feel comfortable to have that. But sometimes you need that first step. And so I think that network, a lot of times, we as women, we want to be perfect, right? We don't want to admit that we have challenges. And I think when you develop those relationships and realize it's okay to be uncomfortable, it's okay to feel, challenged. It's okay. What's not okay is not to take action on it and just, hold it within and have it, impact your work, as Deepthi said. So to me, I think these are all good things that we promote. And there's lots of programs that Margot mentioned that we've developed over time to really support our team and support our colleagues. And I think that's a culture at SAP that's unique, and probably one of the reasons why when people come, they usually stay.
And if I can give a couple examples specifically about things that were uncomfortable, that you weren't sure about speaking up, I can recall a time or two around gatherings. So maybe everyone was going out to the bar, or and that's not really my thing, and so being able to speak up, it required a one-on-one conversation. I'm not going to say it publicly in front of everyone, but I'm not also going to let the assumption be there that that's what works for me. And not to say that I don't enjoy a glass of wine or something here or there, but I was not at that moment looking to go out that evening to dinner in the bar. And while I love to network and think it's important on that evening, for me, I had another obligation. And being a high performance culture as we are at SAP, I was a little bit uncertain that it might be frowned upon for me not to attend. But I took the position that, look, I prove myself day in and day out with the work that I do, and I'm not able to go to this tonight. So I would expect that they can understand it, but let me take it offline, so to speak, and handle it one-on-one. So that was the way that I felt that I could have I don't really hesitate to speak up, but I felt that it would be best handled one-on-one. So it wasn't a matter of, do I have the courage to speak up, but it's where and how to handle it so that you don't feel on the spot, or that you don't feel that you are peer pressured, so to speak, professionally into doing something that you don't want to do. So I took it offline and just said in one-on-one, here's what I can or cannot do and when I can or cannot do. And I'm not really comfortable doing this evening. And I hope you're okay with that. But I will definitely make sure to connect next time, and hopefully it'll be maybe a different location, different time of day, that it does work out. I had to unapologetically say, I am raising 3 children, and my husband and I, switch off on what we do when. And so for this time, this one may not work. Also think about when women and men, quite honestly, are asked to travel. Sometimes business travel can be a little more than one can handle. And so there have been times where pre-pandemic, in this role, leading strategy across North America and having global impact too from a DEI perspective, where I was traveling literally back to back like an entire month. So ironically, I had just finished traveling the whole month of February of last year and said, I'm going to work from home this week, and then I'm going into the office next week. And next week never came, because that first week that I was saying I was working from home was March. And the next week we went into pandemic shutdown. So the first time I saw the office again since January of last year, since I traveled the whole month of February, was when we, recently just started opening up again. But I mentioned that to say, I took a stance for my family that, okay, now that I've been on the road for a whole month, I'm working from home. And that may not be the popular decision, because people are thinking, well, you've been on the road all month, we want to see you at the office. I needed to say, yes, but there is no work-life balance in some cases. It's integration and balance in other cases, but that was how I made it happen. So I needed to be able to have the courage to speak up for myself, again, offline, one-on-one, with all the professionalism to it and the personal background to substantiate it, in order to get the result that worked best for me and enabled me to give my best back to SAP.
Wow. Yeah, those are great examples. I could definitely relate to some of those as well. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so next question, and before I get to the next question, just a friendly reminder to our audience, if you do have any questions, at the bottom of your Zoom window, there is that Q&A button. So feel free to submit any questions that you have for either a specific person on our panelists or the whole panel as well. But Margot, I know you have mentioned that you have benefited from a lot of the perks that SAP offers. So what are some of those benefits or perks that women can expect if they were to join SAP?
SAP is a very generous company, and some of the things that I've enjoyed over the years at our Newtown Square, PA office is free gym, subsidized lunch. So I just swipe my badge, and I don't have to worry about packing lunch for me. I can just worry about packing lunch for the children. When I get to work, I swipe my badge, and if the $4.25 doesn't cover the entire lunch, it covers the bulk of it. I found that to be a big benefit. It saved me time and money. The free gym, so it's almost like you don't have an excuse not to, trying to give yourself a little mental health awareness day and time, whether it's a half an hour in the morning or lunch or after work, that if you can carve that out, I found that to be very beneficial. When I did first start here at SAP, I was a new mom, well, for the third time. I just had my youngest child right before switching, and I nursed each for a year. So to have lactation rooms that I could privately go take care of that, not have to be awkward in the ladies' room or something, I thought that was really phenomenal. During the pandemic, we offered tuition assistance to those families, working moms who had children at home trying to do school while moms were working, and dads, but again, really trying to support that the primary caregiver of children was mothers, that this was an additional benefit for them to help with the children at that time. I think about a lot of our our medical and dental and benefits are, pretty standard, yet we have additional emotional health and wellness benefits. We have mindfulness sessions. We have a whole mental health day where the entire company shuts down, really focuses on, doing what's best for them. I enjoyed my day at the spa and at a nutritionist and things like that. So we definitely have a breadth of opportunities for growth and development, but also for mental health and well-being that have been very helpful to me. And again, even pre-pandemic, we had a flex work environment. So that was very mother-friendly to be able to work part-time or job share, things of that nature that would help, whether you're a mother or not, just in terms of having flexibility as a female professional. I found that to be very helpful. Being able to take a fellowship, whether that is in an area of your passion or not, I think is really important as we as women try to increase our visibility in a company, that you can do that and be exposed to other leaders that potentially sponsor you at another time. So definitely lots of benefits, both on the health and wellness side and medical and dental, et cetera, life insurance, pet insurance, EAP, so employee assistance programs, those sorts of things, all very, very important. And then LEAP. So that used to be a group that a program we used to run for leadership development, but then our Business Women's Network is a big network here that has additional benefits for it. But Lisa, you've been here longer than I have. What benefits have you taken advantage of and have shaped your career here?
I just learned we had pet insurance. Who knew this? This is one of the things that you do, as just as much as I know, we keep adding more. I think some of the other things are additional vehicles and avenues as a woman to give back. So one of the things that's important to me is STEM, really being part of our University Alliance program and going out to universities and really helping women understand the career paths they have in STEM, whether it's engineering, technology. We've also are doing this in high school programs now. We've done a lot of outreach programs with hackathons with some of the local universities, getting more involved in women's issues, whether it's, the COVID is one crisis that we had, but before that, we were dealing very much with opioids and crisis management and being able to use the venues that SAP has established, being a purpose-driven company. I think we're seeing a lot of new opportunities around sustainability that are not necessarily only for women, but clearly opening up the doors to really give back and promote. I love the Business Women Networking Group. I remember when we established that and it was like, this is so awesome. We finally have a group of women and all the men were all upset. They're like, what do you do? I said, well, we talk about you, we talk about shoes, and then we talk about business. What do you think we do? But it's really opened a platform to network. So whether you're a longtime employee like myself, someone who's a seasoned employee like Margot, or someone that's new to the company, having a welcoming vehicle that's hyper local because they're regional, to invite people to come in and get to know other women and just open up doors. There's so many things. And then also just, the health and wellness, especially with COVID, I have such respect for SAP on how we handled that, where other technology companies were laying people off and displacing people. We went in the complete other direction and embraced working families, women and men with small children at home, really understanding what that meant to their personal lives and taking a stance that said, it's okay, to be and have flex time, put programs into place, and just, having empathy and sympathy and helping the company. The wellness day was a great day. We all got a woohoo, let's take a care, whether it was yoga or for me, it's music. I'm not a sit down kind of person. I like the high energy stuff. And then our month of service, which you can pick and choose from a variety of ways to give back, but then you can also create your own. So a lot of the people that I work with, we try to do things around career advancement for women, whether it's here in Philadelphia, which is close to my hometown, or other things within our personal charities and things that we find, that personally drive us and are passionate about. So it's just another one of those great reasons why SAP for me is the place for people to consider when they're looking at long-term careers.
And the one thing I'll add is, of course, it's not always daisies and roses, but when there are challenges, we do work through them. And even just the 100% flex that our board recently announced, that you can work from wherever you want, whenever you want, however you want, so long as you clear it with your manager and your customers. That in and of itself is friendly for any employee, but certainly as women who want additional flexibility, that's very important. And that was led from the board. That wasn't me at the D&I perspective saying, hey, do it, right? And so some of these things have been in place for a while or trying to advance pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and we're like, look, we've already been flexible, we've already been this. I worked from home 100% 2 years from 2016 to 2018. Nothing to do with COVID, but my team who reported to me was in Dublin, Ireland, and Vancouver, British Columbia. My boss was in California, and her boss was in Germany. So there was no reason for me to come to the Newtown Square office. So for 2 years straight, 2016 and 2018, work from home 100%. So those are the sorts of things that are really important to understand. I did see a question in Q&A. I don't know if you want to address it now before we go on, or...
We can, yeah. I think it's a great question. We can certainly pause to answer this question. So the question that came in is, how does bringing your whole self translate in SAP's hiring practices? Meaning, are candidates viewed as much, if not more, for their transferable skills and their personal interests and experience as compared to their specific work experience?
And so I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to let Lisa follow up as a hiring manager. So it's a yes and, right? So we're looking for both your technical experiences to the role you're applying and what other attributes and transferable skills you could bring to the workplace. Because as I mentioned, I've been here 14 years, 5 different roles, and Lisa has been in several roles too. So you're not necessarily being hired for just that role, but for what you can bring to the company. We have a very intersectional and multidimensional diversity inclusion strategy. Therefore, yes, it's a part of our hiring practices. We talk about diversity inclusion as it relates to our talent attraction, sourcing, recruiting, as well as our onboarding, engagement, retention, our career development, advancement, and our diverse ecosystem. So we do make sure that as we're looking at candidates, that we're looking at those other attributes. We also look at, okay, maybe they weren't the best fit for this role, or they made it to the final role and someone else got hired externally or internal promotion. Where else can we pass them on to in the company? What other roles might they be a good fit or a better fit for? Because we're not looking for fit in general. We're looking for culture add, not culture fit, but we are looking for technical fit, right? In some cases, depending on the role. Some roles is a little bit more important than other roles for you to have those tangible skills related to that responsibility. In other roles, there's a little bit more flexibility, right? As sales, sometimes what's more important is the relationship building and the tech and things like that you can sell, and negotiation and persuasion, rather than if it's tech versus pharma. But for other leaders, it matters if it's tech versus pharma. So I'll pause there, but I'll say that it certainly, the bring everything you are, permeates our hiring practices with the professionals who do the steps, but then also for the candidates that we look for and how we look for them. But Lisa can, when she's looking to hire, Lisa can help with that too.
Yeah, and actually, Lisa, before you answer that question, I have a follow-up for Margot, because you touched on this in your response. What skills or traits would you say are key for success at SAP? So you talked about, kind of looking for skills, transferable skills that go beyond just like technical ability. Yep. So what would that be? And then we'll have Lisa respond.
I would say strong business acumen, great communication skills, verbally and written. I would say power of persuasion, good change management skills, because nothing, change is constant at SAP. Understanding your ability to network and the opportunities that are here is important. Being curious, right? Assertiveness, organizational skills, assertiveness, ability to prioritize, assertiveness, right? You can't just sit by and watch it happen or wait for it to come to you. We're too fast moving of a company for that. And many, many, many people will help you, but you will also be in a position to help others. And so it's that even for exchange. So those are some of the things that I think are really, really important from the soft skills perspective, the ability to network, the ability to be agile, strong communication, strong leadership skills, right? Things like that.
Thank you.
So kind of go back to the first part of the question, and then I'll back that up with some of those other skills that I see that are really important. I think when you're in the positions that we are at SAP, you're constantly looking for talent, whether it's positions that you may have open on your team or positions that exist within the organization. And so setting people up for success is really important to me, making sure that when we go through these candidate selections that we've done a really complete and thorough review to make sure we have the best potential candidates So in some ways, I'm a sports junkie. I'm always building my farm team. I might meet someone and say, you know what, I don't have that position today, but in a year from now I am, so I want to build that relationship. Or I might meet someone that say, that person is an excellent candidate for a different part of the organization. Let me make the connection, because the more we attract and retain top talent, the more that we nurture and develop our top talent, the better the company is. So we all benefit from that. So I feel strongly that that's a really important responsibility for anybody in a leadership position that's in position to be hiring and introducing new people to the company. And also, why it's so important to bring your authentic self is, I'll give you an example. When we're bringing junior people into the organization, people right out of university, it can be daunting sometimes, because you look at the resumes, everybody's got a great resume, everybody's got a great GPA, everybody had extracurricular activities. And so you say, okay, what is the unique thing that sets these people apart? And so we're trying to change our interviewing practices so that we're putting people in positions to role play and to actually have unique opportunities to express other things about them that make them exceptional or make them stand out. And sometimes it's not the things you think about. If you were a barista in a coffee shop, probably not interesting job experience, but if you did career counseling or did nonprofit work, or did something else that shows integrity, that shows grit, that shows assertiveness, that shows accountability, even though you have nothing to do with the job that you're interviewing for, those are the skills that I look for. Show me the person that's going to wake up every day and bring their full self, be curious, and want to really roll up their sleeves and get down to business. Show me the person that's not afraid to ask questions or fail. Those are the things that really set us apart. For more senior individuals, I look for people who have maintained their career and have stayed curious. You always kind of want to be in that state of flow. And it's really hard. It's like the Super Bowl team. If your team won the Super Bowl last year, chances are when they come back, they're not going to have a great year. So how do you continue to sustain performance? And what are the things that people do personally and professionally to sustain their career path? And so those are the things that I look for. Those skills usually are all the fundamental skills that Margot was mentioning, but I also look for the people that have a heart, a great sense of humor, that don't take themselves too seriously, because things are going to change. And some days you'll be on the top of the hill, other days it's going to be a challenge, and you've got to, persevere and find your forward path. And I think attitude is one of the big things as well. It's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be good. And how people judge and have self-awareness. One of the things that I've always done is every year I take a self-inventory. What did I do this year? Did I set the goals personally and professionally that I had? And if I didn't, why? Maybe the goals were too aspirational, or maybe I just didn't stick to them. What am I doing next year? If I'm going to set the same goal and not achieve it, why do that? And so that personal inventory and self-awareness is also another really important skill. And so the academia, the business acumen, but then those kind of other soft skills really are what set people apart. And that's where people, I think, really thrive and can be their individual self. And honestly, when you're true to yourself, chances are you're going to be much happier in your career endeavors and be a much more fulfilled employee, much more fulfilling for SAP. And so I think those are the things that I would say are really important to think about.
That's great. Awesome. So for anyone who might be sitting here thinking, oh, I'm really interested in looking a little bit further into SAP, what general tips do you have for them navigating the job search process? And we'll start with Margot on that one.
Okay. Perseverance, patience, pack all of that with your process. But then with the process, so for example, we have an entire SAP page with tabs on your Fairy Godboss site. So you can always go there to see what is available in terms of current openings. You can join our talent community, and that will help you to sign up and put job alerts. I think I'm dropping it there in the chat, I hope. And you can set up job alerts for roles. I would say connect with people on LinkedIn that you already maybe know in your network, again, so that you can get referrals, you can get inside information, and really think hard about the variety of things that we have to offer. So even when Lisa mentioned barista, I think about diligence, reliability, communication skills, good attitude, customer service. And so then that makes me think about, okay, we have a people and operations board here, we have marketing, we have comms. There are roles that, again, been here 14 years, couldn't code myself out of the spot I'm sitting in, but there are roles that I and everyone else can hold depending on your skill set and your ability to infer them. You may do this today and something else tomorrow, and something 10 years ago, so there are things that you can bring to the process and to the workplace that you might not consider relevant for the role. And it may not even be outlined in the description, but if you do believe you have that available within you, I'd say go for it. The other thing I would encourage you is that historically, statistically, it's been stated that women only apply for roles once they have 8 out of 10. Go for it when it's 6 out of 10. But here's what you do. Be strategic. So when I apply for a role, in addition to my resume, I create a cover letter. In the cover letter, I find whatever qualifications, whatever requirements are listed that I know I can speak best to. And so in my cover letter, it's an opening statement or two, but then right in the middle of the letter is a bullets of, here are the requirements you're asking for. Here are my qualifications that match up. Just in case they can't quite see it in the resume, you're showing them, here's what we're looking for. And a recruiter, a hiring manager, that's going to stand out to them. That'll impress them that you took that additional time. So for SAP, I would say sign up for our talent community, but best place to go is our Fairy God Boss page, because then it has the tracking that you came through there in order to first see what we have available. Then once you know what you're interested in, if you have a LinkedIn connection, get to them so they can put you in the referral tool. If you have the ability to apply for a role and do a cover letter, the cover letter is typically optional, take that option. Show them what you're working with, as I say, on top of what the resume says. Because the resume is chronological a lot of times to tell the story, might be strategic and accomplishment oriented, but it may not actually tie the dots together. So those are some of the things that I would say. And definitely be persistent and be patient. I had someone who was trying to get in here at SAP, and it was actually a male, but he must have applied to 10, 15 different things. But we looked at it. He wasn't being focused in his application. So you have to be focused that they at least are similar enough. And he just wanted to get in. And he had great skills, but it was being missed because of the process he was taking on. So be focused, kind of know where you want to go to, get a person to work with you if you can from a network, and that's the best way to go about getting into SAP. Connect with any of us too on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Deepthi, I have a question for you. So, we're now in the fall semester that's just started for college students. And I know a lot of them are probably thinking about internships. And you mentioned earlier that you started at SAP as an intern. So I'm curious, what advice do you have for others who might be considering an internship with SAP? Any tips that you might have, or just maybe some feedback on, how your internship went or what you liked best about it? There's probably like 3 or 4 questions, but choose any of those.
So yeah, as Margot mentioned, so we need patience. So once you have applied, so don't expect sudden responses to your application. So keep waiting, because I'm sure they would need some time in processing, and there might be some other openings in different teams which might use the same applications as well which you have applied for. So it takes time. I still remember during my end of my semester, I have applied for SAP product support, I think during the month of September and October, but I got a call in December. And I have been interviewed then, and I got in for January 2020. So it takes time. Be patient and be confident that you would receive a call. And also, I had been given an 8-month internship. But based on my performance and I had one-on-ones with my manager, and where I have a chance to express my interest that I want full-time or extension in my internship. So they have extended my internship for another 8 months, but during the mid of the internship, second internship, I got another opportunity as a full-timer in a different team. So that's how I jumped into a different team.
That's awesome. That's great. So you started with one team and then you ended up being hired on full-time with another. That's great.
Yeah. And your experience really matters a lot, because you have during the internship, you have an opportunity to prove yourself and perform better. and it would really add a value in pursuing career in the company further.
That's great. All right. Okay, a couple final questions here. So this first question will be for all of you. What's your favorite thing about working at SAP? And we'll start with Lisa.
Oh gosh, I don't have one favorite thing, but if I had to pick one for this call, I would say the people. I have had such amazing friendships that have lasted for life. People who are still with the company, people who've retired. The things I've learned, the immense respect I have for the team coming in every day and just having this tremendous opportunity to meet with people globally who are just smart, funny, intelligent, who are purpose-driven. It is so much more than I can express in a simple call until you experience it. I think to me, that's probably the biggest reason why I've stayed here for as long as I have, because of the amazing people and culture that we have here at SAP. And, I started way back in 1995 when we were a small company, and we've not lost that quality as we've grown through the years, as we've acquired companies. It's part of our DNA, and I think it's what makes SAP SAP.
Deepti, what about you? What's your favorite thing?
So as I have already mentioned, culture is my most favorite of all. I also observed SAP is not too process-oriented company. Of course, there are some processes in place which you have to follow. But in terms of, getting your things done soon, it's quite easy. It means you don't need to really follow huge processes. It shows how the company respects your time and how change oriented it is in terms of development. And so,
Okay. Margot?
I would say the experiences and opportunities. So the experiences with the people and within the culture, but then the opportunities both professionally and personally. I enjoy traveling, and so the fact that I've been to Germany and in Buenos Aires and, Vancouver and, just several places that I've been able to travel internationally and domestically as a result. That is a part of the experiences. That is part of the opportunity. So whether it's the several roles that I've held or the several places that I've visited or the people that I've been with or the experiences that I've had with our ENGs, our CSR, et cetera, with the culture. Those are the things that I'm most excited about and why I am here. I'm not a millennial, but I'm millennial minded in that I did move around a lot. So prior to coming to SAP, I did switch jobs all the time, company, but now I stay at SAP and switch roles. So excited about those opportunities to do such. That's my favorites.
Awesome. And we actually just got one question in that I think is really good. So I'll have you, whoever wants to answer this, but the question is, what strategy would either Margot or Lisa recommend around developing those with fluent technical skills into strategic people leaders?
So that's a really interesting question. So if you have strong technical skills, most likely you have an engineering background, you're used to process orientation, and those really are fundamental skills for being people managers or leading teams. I think the things that you need to develop that maybe you may not have as technical skills is some of the softer skills, right? The listening, the empathy, some of the interpersonal skills, because a lot of times if you're dealing in technology and your head's down and you're engineering, you may not interact with people the same way. So I think I've seen people progress both ways, right? Go from leadership skills and do more technical things. But I think for me, when you're ever in any leadership role, it's some of those soft skills, interpersonal skills, recognizing that the people on your team are individuals. So you can't take the same approach when you're giving feedback or when you're coaching or when you're assessing people's skills and communicating. And so being kind of an ambidextrous leader is completely different. When you're in technical, it's very black and white, you're following a process. When you're a people's manager, I call it the Italian mother syndrome. You have to love each child individually. You have to understand their strengths and weaknesses. You have to build, a career path for them that's, suited for them while maintaining the synergy and the goal of the team. And so some of those different skill sets can be acquired, and they may already have them, but those would be the things I would look at.
And I would say from a strategy perspective, be intentional about leading cross-functional teams, be intentional about engaging in opportunities outside of your core role that get you visibility. So in terms of a strategy to pivot from one side to the next, you want to increase your visibility by getting engaged with things that maybe are outside of your core role, but then cross-functional team leadership of what you're doing in the technical realm to increase your skill sets there. Be intentional about communications and around your networking within the other parts of the organization. Those are the strategies I would say to pivot from one to the next.
And it's funny, at SAP, we actually have director and team lead type of roles. So when people want to transition, they can do so without making a major change and kind of try it out to see, maybe I think I want this role, maybe I think I want to be in that leadership position. And the other things that come along with that may not be the things that I was thinking about at the time. So some of these intern steps really help build the dynamics and help develop the top talent. I think that's another unique thing about SAP, the fact that as leaders, we have these other opportunities to groom and really promote people in those directions that I've not seen at other companies.
That's great. Lisa, really quick, in the interest of time, if you could answer our final question for us in 30 seconds or less, what is the one piece of advice that you would want to share with your younger self?
We were dry running this, I told you, was break up with the dipshit boyfriend. But I actually married him and had a wonderful child, so I can't say that anymore. I would just say you got to be true to yourself. You've got to listen to that internal voice. I think Margot called it finding your voice. I can say from experience, I did not do that as a younger person. I did not have the career role models that I see a lot of folks have today. And, I was often, listening to the voice in my head, but doing something different because I thought I needed to conform. And so if I had to say anything about, listening or changing, is be true to yourself, be authentic, don't ever feel compromised, and always listen to your woman's intuition because it's there for a reason.
Definitely. That's great. Well, thank you. I appreciate all of your time today and everyone that joined us. Thank you as well. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the engagement. And again, if you are interested in learning more about SAP, check out their employer profile on our website. With that, that is all we have time for today. So I will let you all enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.